Next up on the Cosmic News Network, First Contact with Joshua Pert.
Good morning, Earthlings. Good. How you doing today? Good. How you doing today? Welcome to First Contact Radio. Welcome to First Contact Radio. To talk about all these things I'm talking about is because in life, everything is energy. Every single thing that's out there.
Yo, it's First Contact with Joshua Poet. He's the man on the mic, just in case you didn't know it. Covering news from all around the globe, from the weather and space to UFOs. He'll talk politics and make you open your eyes. Conspiracy theories and government lies. They'll dig it all up and try to find the proof. Cause it's time to demand the truth. It's time.
First Contact Radio. We have
time to demand the truth. It's time.
First Contact Radio. We have
time to demand the truth. It's time.
First Contact Radio.
It's time to demand the truth.
Radio. We have arrived. First Contact Radio. Good morning, Earthlings. How you doing today? Welcome to First Contact Radio. We've made it to the end of another week. Today is the 25th of July, 2014. We see that we have a moon sign of Cancer. It's going to be there throughout the rest of the day, and it doesn't change till tomorrow into the next sign, which would be Leo. So we have a water sign all day long in the unconscious mind. Water is feelings, emotions. Water can be running water, or rather, water can be still, like in a pool or a pond. But if water gets too still and doesn't really move, it can get stagnant. So our feelings, our emotions need to flow in order to be more effective. Our sun sign is in Leo, which is a fire sign. So we have fire on the conscious mind, water unconscious. So just imagine those two things working together, fire and water. One can put the other out, or they can both play nicely and both operate together. So we have ideas and emotions working together. Earlier we had a trine between Chiron and Mercury, dealing with communication and bringing forth that wounded healer. We just not too long ago had an aspect between Cancer, the moon sign, and Uranus. So changes within our feelings, something that we need to come to understand. Right about an hour ago we had a aspect between the moon sign and Saturn, discipline. So learning how to discipline our feelings or emotions, but in a good positive way. So finding a good positive constructive way in which to express them. And about now we're going through a moon trine between Cancer, feelings, emotions, and the wounded healer. So the trine, again, is good positive energies between them. So you think of the wounded healer. The wounded healer is the one who went through some challenges, got hurt, got wounded, and has returned after the fact to be able to heal. Okay, we're all the wounded healer. We all go through challenges and problems. And when we can look at our feelings and how they connect into there, sometimes our feelings hold our woundedness in place. Sometimes we have to keep moving with our feelings so they don't get stagnant. We have a conjunction within the hour between Mercury and Cancer, both being in the same place, same location, right next to each other. So those feelings and those ideas. So think of feelings and emotions and ideas. The mind and the emotions, think of them together. They don't always work so well, so it can be a bit of a challenge, or they can work nice, but you got a situation where the mind is trying to think of things and the feelings are trying to feel things, and sometimes our thoughts and our feelings aren't necessarily one and the same, so it makes a few challenges we need to deal with. And then later this evening, Mars is going to be going into Scorpio, which is a place where it feels very comfortable. Mars is that energy, that aggressive energy. It could be passionate, sexual energy. It could be chaotic, crazy, warlike energy. Or in between. When we go into the We're going to this next phase right here. It can be a bit of a challenge because Scorpio is that deep transformative energies that go on. So Scorpio's already dealing with energies that are somewhat of a sexual nature through the transformation that takes place. And so later tonight we're going to be dealing with some of that transformative energies and our Mars energy, see how that affects us and changes us. So just keep your mind on that this evening. Numerology for today is the number 3. The number 3 relates to the Empress. Let me show you how we have arrived at the number 3. Okay, here we go. We got a 7 plus 25, 2014, 777, 21, 2 plus 1 is 3. 3 is our numerology for today. So we're going to look at 3 in the card that it represents, which in this case is the Empress, or in all cases 3 represents the Empress. So our 3 is right here, Empress. Hebrew letter on it. Deleth means door, the door that opens to the inner temple. Moon sign, Cancer, right here. And sun sign, Leo, right here. Okay, so that's our placement on things. The Empress. Let's take a look at what the Empress is about. Again, repetition is important, especially with learning these systems. So the more that we go over each one of them, the better it is. You'll remember something a little bit more each time that you didn't remember or didn't learn the last time. So that's the great thing about it. Fundamentally, this key represents creative imagination. All of its symbolism refers basically to reproduction, multiplication, and growth. In direct contrast to the virginal high priestess, the Empress is a pregnant matron. She is Venus, goddess of love, beauty, growth, and fruitfulness. She is the great mother principle in nature. She represents the activity of the subconscious mind. The stream and the waterfall symbolize the stream of consciousness. It flows from the robe of the high priestess, as do all the streams pictured in the tarot. The water falling into the pool is again a representation of the positive and negative potencies in the life force. These potencies are also symbolized by the scepter of the Empress. The heart, the dove, pearls, wheat, and trees are all Venusian symbols. The necklace of 7 pearls symbolizes the astrological planets, and 12 stars about her head represent the 12 signs of the zodiac. And here we have Hebrew letter Deleth, means door, color green. Alright, current moon phase is we're just a hair away from a new moon, which will be here tomorrow. We're at 2% of the way there. So later this evening, tomorrow, we will be there depending upon your time zone. Looking up at the sky tonight, the 25th, this is what we're going to see. The moon down here, Venus above. Mars and Spica still shine low in the southwest. As night comes on, Mars keeps pulling further away from Spica. They're now 6 degrees apart. Saturn glows to their upper left. Okay. So when you look in the sky, that's what you're going to see. Mayan Oracle, we're at an 8-tone day, which is called the galactic tone. The kin for today is the star. The guide for today is the human. So today is the galactic star guided by the human. Like-minded energy is the monkey. Playfulness. Challenge for today is the mirror, which is reflection, endlessness. And the hidden power is our ability to explore, the skywalker. We can see our position right here. We're in the 8th position along in the theme of the dragon. Birth. So now we're going to shine bright. We've learned, we've moved along the path of inspiration, dealing with our subconscious, planting the seeds of what we're wanting, dealing with our energy, looking at the issues of life and death, understanding how we can accomplish things using our own hands, and finally shining bright the light within us with free will as our guide. Phrase for today, I harmonize in order to beautify modeling art. I seal the store of elegance with the galactic tone of integrity. I am guided by the power of free will. Space weather, our solar wind is 359.9.4 kilometers per second. Planetary K index is between the 2 and a 3, so we're a little bit of an activity. It's quiet though, is what it's considered. Coronal hole, we have one popping up right here that we saw yesterday, and it does tell us that 28th, 29th we'll feel some sort of solar wind coming from this. M-class flare possibility has jumped up from 1% to 5%. X-class still hangs at 1. Geomagnetic storm activity is staying pretty low like it has been. And then finally, let's look at our Jewish calendar. Today is 27 Tammuz. We're still dealing with the 3-week that started from the 17th, which is the time of mourning. Okay, daily thought for today, the Lost Ark. In Solomon's temple, there were 2 places reserved for the Holy Ark, one in the chamber of the Holy of Holies, and one hidden deep beneath that chamber. There are 2 places to find God's presence in all its glory. One is in the most holy of chambers, beyond the place of light and heavenly incense. There God himself could be found by the most perfect of mortals on the most sublime day of the year. Today we cannot enter this place, but there's another place, a place always accessible, beyond catacombs and convoluted mazes, deep within the earth's bowels. There, those whose faces are charred with the ashes of failure, their hands bloody from scraping through the dirt and stone, their clothes from falling again and again, and their hearts ripped by bitter tears, there in that subterranean darkness they are blinded by the light of the hidden things of God, until that presence will shine on us forever. Okay, there you have it. That gets us started for today. UFO News is up next to continue us along. Let's get to it.
This is the UFO News with Joshua Poet.
All right, thank you very much, Dirk. And our first story here, bright orb flying over Lake Havasu. This occurred on the 13th of the month. There's our orb in question. We've seen plenty of times. Interesting footage of an unidentified flying object or orb across the sky of Lake Havasu in Arizona. Recorded on July 13th. Pretty dramatic looking sky, huh? Video itself is 2 minutes in length. And he's zooming in. There you go.
It was just sitting there, and then it just.
I told you.
There's the orb.
They'll probably come out of that cloud. So this is what's coming out. Huh?
I was making a joke.
Okay. Next, here we have what looks like an alien ship. You know, Scott goes through a lot of these photos and finds images that are seemingly out of the ordinary. And this one certainly does look like a ship. See the front, back. It's flipped upside down. This ancient disc was found by a Mars surveyor image this month. Its circular shape is very typical of flying saucers seen for many centuries around the world. On the one end of the disc is a raised area that looks like an engine compartment or possible damage. The disc is totally out of place in the environment of ridges and cliffs in this crater. It is an ancient abandoned craft, probably damaged beyond repair, or tech was made obsolete by the new tech. And we have a 1 minute and 2 second video. Of course, you're going to see the zoom ins. You can see something is not quite right about it. And as you look at it, it begins to look like something a bit more recognizable than just the landscape, doesn't it? Okay, very good capture. Next, going back to the Phoenix Lights, witness describes UFO sighting prior to the famous Phoenix Lights. Many people who were living in Arizona March 13, 1997 will recall the Phoenix Lights sighting. The unidentified flying object was reportedly seen from Tucson to the Nevada state line. Even Arizona's governor, Fife Symington III, saw it. But what the thousands saw was months later after I had seen my UFO going home from work one Thursday evening, November 1996. It was huge and flying low. The lights covered the sky, and I could barely keep my eyes on the road. As I looked up through the windshield, what I saw did not resemble the V formation everyone saw in 97. The UFO I saw was very slow and quietly moving toward me as I headed south on 91st Avenue, almost to McDowell Road. It had a multicolored lights, white, yellow, and red. It was right over me. As I got to McDowell, I was looking in disbelief. Then the lights went dark, and I could barely make out a dark object overhead. After some 15 seconds passed, I saw other multiple flying objects further away with their colored lights, and they suddenly moved into formation and sped away westward at a very fast rate of speed, and were gone. I hurried home, ran into the house, told my husband about it. He found it all amusing and poked fun at me while I was running around scared, and went back outside to see if I could spot them again. At work the following day, I told my story to a coworker who said he'd seen the same thing, but on a different night. Okay. Moving from Arizona, let's go over to Gary McKinnon. U.S. military computer hack uncovers photos of UFOs in space, and that's not all. You've heard this story many times because this happened years back. What type of information lay dormant inside U.S. Army, Navy, Air Force, and Department of Defense computers? Well, as well as 16 NASA computers. Why is it that trillions of unaccounted dollars are pumped into departments of defense every year? You would think that they have the right to know what we have the right to know what is happening on our planet with regards to the scientific and technological breakthroughs that the world's top scientists are making, wouldn't you? How can we ever have true transparency when the military-industrial complex continues to create events that justify war in order to create a state of fear that requires national security? 9/11, for example, was a false flag terrorist attack used to justify the invasion of Iraq. National security has been the backbone of secrecy. It provides justification to keep scientific, technological, and paradigm-shifting developments and information concealed from the human race. The dangers of excessive and unwarranted concealment of pertinent facts far outweigh the dangers that are cited to justify them. There is a very grave danger that an announced need for increased need and security will be seized upon by those anxious to expand its meaning to the very limits of censorship and official secrecy. This is not what I intend to permit to the extent that is in my control. JFK. According to our best estimates, more than half of the U.S. government records are classified. For an archivist seeking to preserve and understand our history, that means most of our history is kept secret from us. Think about that for a moment. Richard Dolan. Okay, it says what type of information is hidden from the public? Well, you'll have to ask Gary McKinnon. In 2002, the U.S. government charged and arrested Gary for performing what is said to be the biggest military computer hack of all time. He was charged with causing $700,000 worth of damage to government computer systems. For 10 years, Gary has been facing extradition to the United States. I highly doubt the damage cited by the U.S. government as adequate means for justification for extradition and or imprisonment. Instead, the U.S. government was more concerned with the information Gary came across. In the political world, Gary was used to justify the need for more secrecy. But it's the secrecy within the military-industrial complex that was threatened. Political figures are just puppets. They are not calling the shots. They are used to give people the perception that they are the key decision makers. High-ranking military officials and the ones that create the money are calling the shots. In 2006, right before the world started to hear about Gary, he seemed to be deeply concerned and very pessimistic about his chances for beating extradition. 10 years later, in October 2012, the decision not to extradite McKinnon to the United States was made. In December 2012, it was determined that Gary will face no further charges in the United Kingdom. So what did Gary find? He found a list of non-terrestrial off-world officers that had rank. He was unable to tell if they represent the Air Force, Navy, or Army. He also found multiple pictures of UFOs and lists of fleet-to-fleet transfers of materials from ship to ship. Okay, here we have a video accompanying this, a 5-minute video with Gary talking, but I'm going to leave that to you. And one last piece, just to let you know that tonight the new season of Ancient Aliens begins. The first episode tonight is about the reptilians. It's going to be on the History Channel. So there you have it. One thing, if I might just throw out there, this kind of fits into the whole conspiracy mindset. But as you know, there's only a few networks that really oversee what's going on. Everything's become so consolidated. And when you see all of the different networks, you have the 6 majors, 5 majors, and then they sprinkle out, and you see the ones that are connected with each individual one. Well, they all kind of follow a similar agenda. There is censorship that goes on, unfortunately. And the History Channel is kind of becoming the rewrite History Channel. So when you watch, you got to watch it with a grain of salt. You know, you got to see that at some point they're not going to completely tell you the truth, because the powers that be that run their networks, they're not going to allow some of the things get out of. Because if they did, there'd be too much information that the public would have. And so these programs, these networks, they act as gatekeepers. And when I did, I met with the guys from Ancient Aliens when we were in Roswell. They all had a similar story. That big challenge that they have is they create their show, and then the network wants to edit what is in there, and they want to change, which would certainly change the meaning of what was going on. And I know people then think that the guys from Ancient Aliens did this and want to say how they're censoring things, but it's not. It's the networks, and it doesn't just happen with this channel, the History Channel. It happens with many. All you got to do is, I'll bring a list up for you next week. How about that? Of the channels and how they control things, and you'll be able to see. So just something to keep in mind. Watch the series, though. It's a good series. Kind of gives some information, good insight as best as it can. Ancient Aliens back tonight. Reptilians. All right, there you have it. That's our UFO news. I'll be back momentarily, and we shall continue on.
Come into our circle, Great Spirit. Fill our souls with peace.
Continuing on. So as many of you know, if you've been watching the show for quite some time, I'm a fan of Dr. Ron Paul. Okay, I went to the Paul Fest in 2000, the last election, 2012. It's quite interesting to be there. Got to see firsthand Dr. Paul speak, which was awesome. I also got to see firsthand a police state that was very afraid of Dr. Paul. Spoke to many police officers who were around there at the fest, who first of all made sure that the getting back and forth wasn't very easy. So they actually made it kind of difficult. The police weren't there to really help. They were there to hinder. And when conversations would take place and with the officers, what we came to find out was they were expecting that there was going to be a lot of problems. What they found was that there weren't any problems. They were expecting the Ron Paul crowd to be violent and angry and want to fight, and they were there in force, ready to stomp that out. But they were all very surprised, and they acted surprised that none of what they had heard was really the way it is, which shows that there's a disconnect. You have to wonder, what are the police being told out there? In this particular case, they were being told that Ron Paul was dangerous and the people that support him are dangerous. Couldn't be further than from the truth, but yet that's unfortunately what goes on. Anyway, I can go on and on with all of that, but I want to bring your attention to this piece here, Voices of Liberty, powered by Ron Paul. Ron Paul's new venture further amplifies the message of freedom. through insightful news coverage, engaging shows, and your involvement. Let me just click on the About here, About Voices of Liberty, just so you can. About Voices of Liberty. We are excited to announce Ron Paul Channel's expansion into Voices of Liberty, powered by Ron Paul. As Voices of Liberty, we further amplify the message of the freedom movement through the engaging videos and insightful news coverage. There are some major changes coming that will allow you to become an integral part of the movement by making your voice truly matter. In addition to Ron Paul Channel programming you're used to, Voices of Liberty will offer more video, audio, and editorial from well-known champions of liberty, as well as everyday citizens in the freedom movement. We are also producing new shows that offer valuable information that you can use in your daily life, from learning and practicing your constitutional rights to the future of the monetary policy, business, and technology. With your participation, Voices of Liberty will be the go-to social platform for liberty-minded people. Together, we will challenge the status quo through staying informed on today's most pressing issues and engaging in constructive discourse to develop actionable solutions to achieve the change of the liberty movement demands. Join in the discussion sections of each article. Submit your stories. They might appear on VOL. And participate in polls, quizzes, petitions by registering for your free membership in Voices of Liberty. Okay? So very interesting, very good. I would recommend that. Okay, I'm not really getting too heavily handed into all the politics these days. There's really no point because we have one liar after another in the office. You've got the Democrats and the Republicans, and then you got the Americans, and that's the way I see it. Democrats, Republicans, and then Americans. The Democrats and the Republicans are those in Washington, and they're screwing everything up, left and right. And anybody who is siding with either side of them and thinking that they're right, unfortunately, those individuals aren't seeing clearly. You're only seeing part of the puzzle. If we really look at what's going on, we see there's a problem. And if we really get caught up with it on a daily basis, it'll drive you crazy. It'll absolutely drive us crazy, and that's what happens on a daily basis. Because it's not intended to keep you sane. It's intended to keep you off balance by all of their insane behavior. Yet most of us wouldn't tolerate this behavior if this was a family member, if this was a child, if this was a parent or somebody that was in our circle of friends that we hung out with. We wouldn't tolerate this behavior at all, no matter what side of the fence we're on. But we seem to tolerate this because fear is what gets in the way. So anyway, we need to look at that. That's why we look at the politics. That's why we look at what's going on. And that's one of the reasons why I go back to Ron Paul. Because he hasn't been afraid. He's been standing up. And liberty is what it's all about. So check that out. I think you'll find it very insightful. All right, here's a piece I'm going to show you here. It's all about the Great Pyramid. This would be part of your weekend viewing program. It's at the Great Pyramid Subterranean Chamber, Hydraulic Pulse Generator, and Water Pump. We have a couple videos that support this, 3 parts. Okay. Says the following is the original, more extensive preface. So let me read this to you. The following article is about the subterranean section of the Great Pyramid. The whole pyramid can be removed and the pump mechanism will still be present. It is a very simple yet effective device. If I'm right about the ancients having built this device, then they were geniuses. If I'm wrong about them building the device, then I'm certainly willing to take credit for this marvelous machine. Either way, we thought we'd share this research with our Black Russian terrier friends, as well as alternative researchers. All we ask is that you enter with an open mind and let the facts and engineering principles tell the story. The research has been published by Dr. John Selwell's book, The Complete Pyramid Sourcebook, and featured in Atlantis Rising, issue number 56, as presented by Richard Noon. It will be featured in an upcoming book by Edward Makowski. Did you know what .0001 looks like? For anybody with working knowledge of precise manufacture, I strongly suggest reading Christopher Dunn's article about advanced machining and Giza Plateau in ancient Egypt. Stephen Mayer has an article about machined artifacts with reference to previous civilization. Even if you don't understand precise production, read the articles. It is based upon real-world machining principles, specifications, and tolerances. Did they really make these optical precision granite artifacts with beating stones? The beating stones is not an exaggeration. If you read the articles and really get the implications, the full implications, then you will know that there is much more to history than what we've been exposed to. How do you create a perfectly square corner when you cannot even make the precision square used to verify that angle? Even if you had a precision square, could you produce precision pieces? What civilization really made them? Ancient history has holes, and this is the smoking gun. The machine that I'm proposing is not out of the realm of what the pyramid builders have shown that could produce. They were expert tunnelers. There's even a Giza Plateau water tunnel mapping project undertaken. They could easily produce the two moving parts of the machine. I'm just glad that I don't have to suggest that they could produce the precision granite artifacts of the seraphim with beating stones and copper chisels. Okay, you can see there's a long article here. Lots of pictures, images, videos. Goes on and on and on, okay? So I just touched the surface of what's in here. But in addition to this, but wait, there's more. In addition to this, I found for you, right here it says the research has been published from this book, The Complete Pyramid Source Book. Well, here we go. Dun, da, da, da. The Complete Pyramid Source Book. I found a PDF of it. So if you go, you can download this PDF. The link's available. And it gets into all of this information. It's a 513-page book. So check it out. The links are available. You got the book. You got the research. You've got plenty to keep you busy should you feel like investigating the pyramids this weekend. Okie dokie. So today, being Friday, Jesus Friday. Fridays are the days I like to talk about Jesus. I talk about Jesus any day. But Friday is the day dedicated. Now, I had contemplated, just for the heck of it, that I was going to play that section of Jesus talking about Obama being the Antichrist, but why beat a dead horse, right? We already know what's going on. We understand that something really fishy is going on with this administration, but I'm not going to keep playing that over and over. The link's available. Instead, I'm going to move on to some of the other things Jesus had to say as well. Other parables. So I've got a couple links here. The first one here is sermoncentral.com, and here we have parables of Jesus. We can go down and we can see lists of parables. Okay, so we're just going to pick one here. We're just going to pick the first one, two builders, two foundations. And it says, you can see there's a bunch of research with each one. Where are we at here? Jesus had just finished, this is the summary, he had given his famous Sermon on the Mount, so he desperately wanted his audience to go and do what he had just taught them because he wanted to implement his kingdom of righteousness on earth. So he tells a story for his conclusion. Okay. We're going to go pull up that story momentarily. Right here. Matthew 7. He said that, therefore, everyone who hears these words of mine and puts them into practice is like a wise man who's built his house on the rock. The rain comes down, the streams rose, and the winds blew and beat against that house. Yet it did not fall because it had its foundation on the rock. But everyone who hears these words of mine and does not put them into practice is like the foolish man who's built his house on the sand. The rain came down, the streams rose, the winds blew and beat against that house, and it fell with a great crash. Okay. New wineskins. Let's check this one out here. Check out a couple of them before we move on to the other page. New wineskin. Jesus tells a story to Matthew to teach us about the new things he wants to do in our lives. Matthew 9. Then John's disciples came and asked him, "How is it that we and the Pharisees fast often, but your disciples do not fast?" Jesus answered, "How can the guests of the bridegroom mourn while he is with them? The time has come when the bridegroom will be taken from them. Then they will fast. No one sews a patch of unshrunk cloth on an old garment, for the patch will pull away from the garment, making the tear worse. Neither do people pour new wine into old wineskins. If they do, the skins will burst, the wine will run out, and the wineskins will be ruined. No, they pour new wine into new wineskins, and both are preserved." Okay, let's do one more. Let's look at this one here. This next one down. Pharisee and the tax collector. This is Jesus tells a story in Luke's Gospel to teach us about the irony of God's righteousness and man's sinfulness. All right. Luke 18. To some who were confident of their own righteousness and looked down on everyone else, Jesus told this parable. 2 men went up to the temple to pray, one a Pharisee, the other a tax collector. The Pharisee stood by himself and prayed, "God, I thank you that I am not like other people, robbers, evildoers, adulterers, or even a tax collector. I fast twice a week and I give 1/10 of all I get." But the tax collector stood at a distance. He would not even look up to heaven, but beat his breast and said, "God, have mercy on me, a sinner." I tell you that this man, rather than the other, went home justified before God. For all those who exalt themselves will be humbled, but those who humble themselves will be exalted. Okay, so we got the Pharisee and the tax collector. And you got the 2 men. So you got the one man who you think, because he's a Pharisee, that he's going to be the good guy, right? He's got his connection in with God. But the tax collector was the one. So it's a good parable, good thing to know, you know. There's this sense of righteousness in the world. We see it coming from leadership. We see it coming from religious organizations, and on and on and on. And it's this sense of, I don't know, it's just this sense of superiority, excessive pride. You know, I was thinking about the idea of pride, and I think pride is something that we're told is one of the 7 deadly sins, but is it really wrong to be prideful? Well, I think it just depends how you look at it. I mean, if you look and you understand or even contemplate the idea of God, God expanded from what God was to being more of itself. We read and we learn that God wanted to experience more of itself. Why? Well, probably because God loved what God was experiencing. We hear love all the time in the Bible, appreciating oneself. So obviously God loved God enough to want to make more God. And that's very, I think, very much something we should learn from. That we learn to love ourselves so that we expand who and what we're about out into the world. But then there's a fine line between loving ourselves and then stepping over that line where our pride becomes prideful. And once we get to that point, now we start seeing things in a different way. We start allowing our pride and our ego to take over. So rather than just appreciating, now we're looking at things in a way that's not quite so natural, a little bit strange. And once we get into that place where that pride takes over, that ego takes over, you know how it works. People don't think clearly in those situations. And pride before the fall is a term that we've all heard, because when the pride gets out of control, what happens? A person usually makes bad mistakes, bad decisions, and in those decisions, they fall. They fall from glory. They fall from where they were. So it's important that we understand the place of pride, the place of appreciating who we are, appreciating the divinity within ourselves, but at the same time remain humbled by it. That's why on the tree of life you got the 2 sides. You got humility on one side, mercy, severity on the other, and you have the path of the lion between them, which is where we're at right now. We hear about the pride of the lion. Well, we've got excessive pride and we have humility, excessive humility, and we want to find that balance. And we use the strength of the lion, the right useness of the energy to help balance everything out. Because remember, it's all about energy. So when we bring this energy back into balance, it changes the way in which we're able to operate in the world. Makes a big, big difference. All right, here's another PDF I found for you. It's available. This is 234 pages. Hogarth Blake presents the complete sayings of Jesus. This is from the King James Version. And what you have here is all kind of great information. Here we see what the contents are, starting all the way from the lineage on down. Okay. Lots of info. So, I thought that we would start off with this one. Let's hear what Norman Vincent Peale has to say. One of the high spiritual moments that I have enriched my life which have enriched my life came the day that I read this book at one sitting. It was a moving and unforgettable experience which I had the feeling of actually being in the presence of Jesus. It produced a strange, compelling identification with the sights, sounds, and the atmosphere of those times, and the Lord's presence was profoundly realistic. When I finished the book, I came back to present reality with a start. Effect was created by the fact that here we have every recorded word spoken by Jesus, and in the sequence in which he uttered them. In his little volume offers an amazing reading experience, one in which the reader follows the master through the villages and about the lake and onto the cities, hearing the priceless comments to individuals and the sermons to massed multitudes. The reading of all of the words at one time and in chronological order produces an effect quite different from that which is attained by reading isolated scripture passages in which the words appear, as profoundly helpful as those are. The impact upon the mind and the heart of the whole message affects one profoundly. This book gives a panoramic concept of the thoughts and the teachings of Jesus, and so grand, noble is the impression made upon the mind that the reader has an enhanced understanding of that purpose and of the greatest life ever lived. For mental stimulation, heartfelt comfort, and soul satisfaction, the complete sayings of Jesus is unique. I shall always be grateful that Lumsford P. Yandell made this little volume known to me years ago. He explained that a friend of his, a businessman, Arthur Hindus, sensed the importance of bringing the world of Jesus together in a chronological form, so that the full sweep and completeness of the immortal message might more effectively be felt and comprehended. These laymen had a keen consciousness of the ineffable power of the words of Jesus, and a desire to relate to them more widely. To busy modern people, arrange them in a convenient and readable form. For many years, this book has been made available through the literature sales organizations of the Marble Collegiate Church. The thousands who have read the book through our recommendation have reported that it has brought great spiritual blessing to them. I commend this new edition for all who desire the creative touch of Christ upon their lives. Norman Vincent Peale. Okay, so as you can see, there's quite a lot to be gained for this book. We start off with the lineage of Jesus, this book of the generation of Jesus Christ, the son of David, the son of Abraham. Abraham begat Isaac, Isaac begat, so on and so forth. It begins. So, links available. Check out this book, 234 pages. And it seems like it's a very worthwhile experiment to read through the whole book and to see what kind of feeling you get, what kind of profound feeling you have from this. You know, when people do read these books of this nature, they really do find something tremendous that comes out of it. You know, Edgar Cayce, the sleeping prophet, he was said to, I forget what year he started, but once a year he would read the Bible from beginning to end. And he attributed his skills to that experience of how they opened up and they really helped him spiritually to grow, to evolve. And this book sounds like it's a very thing indeed that will do something of that nature, just continuously reading through from one word of Jesus to the next without all the other stuff in between. So very worthwhile. So check it out. Links available. firstcontactradio.com. And in the meantime, I'm going to continue on to the next bit of information. And here we have another article from In5D. And this one is called 25 Awakening Characteristics. Awakening as in being awake. This is by Josh Richardson. There is no doubt that the earth is evolving spiritually. People are experiencing intense changes within their life, work, behaviors, and personal relationships. Many are awakening at a rate that can only be described as phenomenal. So how do we know if we are awakening? Here are 25 common characteristics you may find in yourselves and others. Some of you may experience things not on the list, and I encourage you to share your experiences in the comments below. We are all unique, and many of us are experiencing phenomena that are difficult to explain at this time. We are all learning from each other. So that being said, it's good that we have these kind of lists, because in the process of learning from each other, we share what we know, and it helps us to learn quicker. So here we go, 25 things. I'm just going to read the headlines for you. 1. Being in public places is sometimes overwhelming. 2. We understand our current paradigm more than we understand ourselves. 3. We know things without having to intellectually figure them out. 4. We acknowledge our imperfection and how beautiful it is to be an imperfect vision of our true selves. 5. Watching television or most of mainstream media, including newspapers and many Hollywood movies, is very distasteful to us. 6. We no longer have a need to attach our love to material things, understanding that it only leads to misery because we are not learning to love ourselves and others. 7. Lying to us is nearly impossible. 8. We may pick up symptoms of a cold, just like men who get morning sickness when their wives are pregnant. 9. We tend to root for the underdog, those without voices, those who have been beaten down by the matrix, etc. 10. We don't feel the need to awaken every person we see. 11. If we don't learn how to set boundaries, we can get tired easily from taking on other people's emotions. 12. We are becoming healers. 13. We see the possibilities before others do. 14. We are creative. 15. We fully accept that we can only attract that which is within our vibrational field. 16. We don't question what is love, why is it, or how is it present itself. 17. We require more solitude than the average person. 18. We get bored easily, but we are really good at entertaining ourselves. 19. We have a difficult time doing things we don't want to do or don't really enjoy. 20. We are obsessed with bringing the light of truth. 21. We don't live in fear of anything. 22. We can't keep track of time. 23. We abhor routine. 24. We often disagree with authority for obvious reasons. 25. We'll often be kind, but if not, are egotistical or rude. We won't spend much time with you or find any excuse to hang out. We will often be kind, but if you are egotistical or rude, we won't spend much time with you or find an excuse to not hang out with people who are obsessed with themselves. Alright, so there you go. There's 25 good points. Things definitely to consider along the way. You know, before I go on, I wanted to bring up a thought that I had the other day and maybe kind of get some of your insight on it, see what you think about this as well. But as I was listening to the news and listening to, well, it's hard to call it news because when I'm out and about during the day, the mainstream news is what's usually on in the places where I'm at. And so I'm hearing the different stories and things that they're telling. I don't necessarily consider these news because I'm aware of the propaganda that goes on. But Fox News happened to be on at the moment, and it went to a commercial, and in the commercial there were people talking about Israel and needing to save Israel and help Israel. And they were asking for people to join together. I don't remember if it was to send in some money or what it was, but ultimately, I think it was to sign a petition, ultimately to petition the president to protect Israel, petitioning Obama. And I suddenly, as I was hearing that, heard something different about that. What I heard was something that took place more on a spiritual level than on a physical level. Because on a physical level, we hear it's one people asking this person, have mercy on us, help us out, blah, blah, blah. But on the other hand, what I heard was a community that should be relying upon God to take care of them, to protect them, wanting to ask Obama, someone who is considered to be the beast, the Antichrist, to take care of them. And for whatever reason, that just seemed inappropriate that the community would be reaching out. A community that should be asking God for help should be reaching out to God for help. And it just seemed rather weird that they were reaching out to Obama to protect them. Just the thought, my thought, make of it what as you will. It just seems like maybe if there was more of a looking to God to help as opposed to looking to Obama to help, things might be a little bit different. You know, I can't help think and feel that the world would be a better place if we all relied upon this force that's out there, this God force, more than we do. I can't help but also think that if we stepped away from the things that we hear are demonic or connected to bad, evil things, that we would be better off as well. So there's a lot of all this kind of tied in together. Anyway, I'm just rambling now. Those are my thoughts. Let me know what you think. See if that makes any sense, you know. Because I know throughout history there's been different ways that we hear the stories about the Jewish community and the ways in which they have looked to God. And in many times we see that there's disobeying God, not having faith, not trusting in God. So is this another situation where there's not the trust in God? Again, you got to trust God. Don't trust Obama. Don't ask Obama to save you. Don't ask Obama to protect you. Ask God. Do a whole lot better than talking to the Antichrist, because the Antichrist isn't going to get you anywhere except lie to you, because that's what he's good at. All right? That's my 2 cents. Make of it what you will. Let me know what you think. All right, moving on. This is a message for today. It comes to us from Lady Nada.
Consumed by peace. Ascended Master, Lady Nada's weekly message July 24th, July 31st, 2014. Received by Julie Miller. July 24th, 2014. Wherever whatever it is you are doing, we encourage you to always bring peace and love during any instance you may find yourself in. Beautiful bright hearts, we understand how difficult coming from a place of peace and love can be all the time when there are so many diverse people for you to encounter, and some of these people seem to purposely get in your way, cause disturbance in your own peaceful demeanor. When you are feeling upset by those around you, regardless if they just walked by you in a huff, behaving in a way you disapprove, or someone you know that is with you, but has angered or annoyed you, before reacting with your heated emotions and feelings, how about taking a few cleansing breaths? Have your in-breath be peace and your out-breath be love. Think these each time for several seconds, possibly a few minutes. You find closing your eyes as you work at calming yourself to help. Only you can bring yourself into a calmer state, where you are able to conduct yourself logically, peacefully and with kindness. This is a positive choice that you have the power of making. We understand how easy it can be to allow yourself to be overrun by your emotions. It is a lot harder to rein them in, but in the long run for the betterment of your emotional, mental and physical health, the effort is worth it. There is never any good reason to choose anger over peace and love. The moment you feel yourself becoming angered or frustrated, learn the reason why. Identify with it, let the feeling or emotion show you, tell you what the matter is. Be ready, maturely, for the honesty and truthfulness of the situation. Many times what you have become upset over is truly trivial. In order for your wishes and wants of a world and its inhabitants behaving more peacefully and loving towards one another, such changes must begin with you. You must begin cultivating the world you live in to become more peaceful and more loving, and this beautiful Bright Hearts is a journey that takes you deep within yourself. It is during such a journey you will discover and explore possibly many hidden truths that you preferred the outside world not to know. But in order to become more peaceful and more loving, you must uncover all your truths, allow your true and authentic self to shine instead of always pretending. The truly insightful ones will see through your masquerades. God already knows all your secrets. He has witnessed the darkest of your thoughts, and He has heard the mumbles in your mind and under your breath, words that are harsh, mean and sometimes critical of others. Remember, dear ones, whenever you judge another for any inadequacy you see and find distasteful, you are pushing your own insecurities, inadequacies on another and blaming them for being who or what you are not. The judgments or criticisms you declare about another dear soul are actually declarations of yourself. The person at the brunt of your upset does not deserve such demeaning punishment. You don't either deserve such punishment when someone else treats you the same. Each of you deserves to be treated with love, compassion and respect. But as we said before, the good you want to see in the world which you live, must begin with you, not with other people. When you begin to reflect and demonstrate goodness, others will eventually follow suit. When you take the time to go within, to find that deep well of peace, your whole self seems to exhale the deepest cleansing of breaths, that you finally reached a place of deep knowing and understanding. When you find this place of deep peace within yourself, in truth you'll not want to leave it, as it feels very good for your entire person. What makes you feel good, you want to keep and preserve. Instead of keeping this good feeling to yourself, selflessly and with great thought and mindfulness, you begin to share your peaceful demeanor, your new loving way in all manners and in all instances. You are able to see that you always had the choice to choose peace over chaos, and love over hate. You've always had the choice. No matter what it is that you are doing, where you are going or who you are with, it also makes no difference on the kind of person that is before you. To allow the deep inner peace to consume you, you must be ready heart and soul for the next stage of your journey. Coming from a place of continual peace is not going to be boring, it will be exciting, and it will lead you in a direction where your challenges will be different, yet instructional, and always providing you with opportunities to practice your new peaceful and loving stance with life and with all living things, including other people and yourself. At first, this peaceful, loving way of being and living may be difficult until you adjust and allow the healing energy of your own inner peace to envelope you and to become a walking, breathing being of pure-hearted peace and love. In time, with great practice, no doubt much time spent in meditation to help calm the busy mind, your peaceful and loving way will become automatic. It will always be there with you as you and peace become one and the same. Remember to breathe in peace and exhale love. Beautiful bright hearts, each of you have already the capacity to attain such a peaceful, loving way. The choice to be at peace and to share love that is authentic and unconditional has always been something you could have chosen. It has never been out of reach, as both reside within you, waiting for you to come home to. Become the peaceful and loving person you are meant to be. Free yourself from the expectations of others, and become your own master of peace and love, and always looking for ways to incorporate more peace, more love, and to share both in every step, every breath, every word, in every thought, in every feeling, with every action and with all your choices. Peace and love will consume you, it will become you, and all you do will become God in action. And so it is. I am Ascended Master, Lady Nada. Through Julie Miller.
Alright, very nice message from Lady Nada. Very important that we hear this. And notice how there's a lot of similarity in the messages we're hearing. Because we're at that point where it's not brain surgery. Once we get to a point where we need to make the changes we need to make, we just need to make the changes. That's it. And so it's not like someone's telling us something different we need to do. Same lesson, same story. Let's take a deep breath. Close your eyes now. And exhale. Take another deep breath. And exhale again. Alright, as you breathe in, I want you to imagine breathing in peace. Inhale peace. And exhale out love. Inhale peace. Exhale love. And again, inhale peace. And exhale love. And as you go through the world, continuing to inhale peace and exhale love, you begin to affect the world in a very positive way. By simply exchanging peace and love energies into the world, you acknowledge that peacefulness exists by breathing it in, by attracting it to you, and as you send it out as love, you send out an energy force that is going to be helpful to the world. So imagine yourself walking down the path, breathing in and out peace and out love. And as you are walking along and you see things that are a bit disharmonious or chaotic or people arguing or whatever, as you walk by and simply look their direction, you find that the energy of peace and love that you are resonating affects them, and they stop fighting. And they look at you wondering what happened and realize that they were caught up in a momentary illusion, some momentary insanity, but this peace and love came and calmed them and helped them to see clearly. And you realize that one by one you're able to help others see clearly just by sending out peace and love. And so along the way you encourage others to breathe in peace and exhale love, to attract peacefulness to us and then send out love into the world for others to also experience. And as we continue to send out peace, to send out love, to acknowledge these two energies in life, we find ourselves growing stronger, more confident, more protected, and more influential to those around us. So as we go forth over the course of this weekend, with all of the challenges that are going on in the world today, simply think about peace and love. And when you come upon a situation, just think of peace and love, and allow that love and the peace to go and bring calm and clarity to the situation. And just be an example this weekend of that peace and love, and see what difference it makes in your life, and what difference it makes in the lives of those around you. So just imagine yourself now walking along the path, sharing peace and love, and as you do, you find that your life becomes more productive, more effective, more abundant. And the more peace and love you share, the more that you wish to share. So just imagine that, peace and love as the journey, as the mission. And let our subconscious mind continue on that journey of peace and love. And let's bring our conscious mind back to the present moment on the count of 3. 3, coming back to the present moment, filled with confidence, 2 coming back to the present moment filled with faith, and 1 coming back to the present moment happy, healthy, and whole. Happy, healthy, and whole. Now keep breathing, and I want you to contemplate the words of this affirmation. I am capable of reaching any goal. I am capable of reaching any goal. And so as you move into the world, sending out peace and love, you find that your ability to reach the goals you wish to achieve is even more possible, because you are working with energies to help you achieve those goals. So let's bring our conscious mind back to the present moment. 3 coming back to the present moment filled with confidence. 2 coming back to the present moment filled with faith, and 1 coming back to the present moment happy, healthy, and whole. Happy, healthy, and whole. Take another deep breath. Exhale and open your eyes. That's it, my friends. That's our show for today. That's our shows for the week. Thank you very much for being here. There's a lot of information, a lot of links that you can go check out, some PDFs to download. Plenty to keep you busy. Plenty to keep you busy. So have a great weekend. Keep loving each other. That's the most important thing. I love you. And I'm just going to keep sending out peace and love, and you do the same thing. And when we get back Monday, let's just see how we feel from this experience. All right? Have an awesome weekend. I'll talk to you soon. Peace. Love. I'm out of here.